local agriculture, and happens to be a recent James Beard Awards semifinalist. I really admired farmers and what they produce and kind of the whole, just like knowing about our food system and kind of like how can I contribute. Her adventures in ice cream started with a book. I kind of collect cookbooks, and then one day I was like, I should probably make something in this cookbook. And I just kind of started experimenting. And then I started giving it away to friends, and then it turned into like, oh, maybe I could like put a little like chest freezer somewhere, and people could like come and pick it up. And so I just kind of kept going. And so it turned into I have a little ski tuning shed like behind my house, and it used to be for like tuning skis, except I put a friend's old chest freezer in there that he was getting rid of, filled it with ice cream process, and people could like come. So good. The scooping and socializing keeps things busy up front, but we got a sneak peek back in the kitchen where Christina's team works like mad sugar scientists, concocting everything from scratch. Homemade coffee, and then we have cow nibs and sea salt, and then chop it at the end, add it into our coffee base. Today we're making maple, so we have the Mount Cabot maple sugar, and this is really cool. This farm is actually at the base of Mount Cabot, which is the northernmost or footer. Our ice cream is different because so we make our own base in house, and so it's a lot of science, and then it's so much creativity, and that's probably like the most fun. And so it's just like, okay, what's at the farmers market today? One of the super secrets to success here is community and connections. Christina and her team have relationships with so many farms. They source locally everything from maple sugar to raspberries, blueberries, and even squash that gets folded into the ice cream machine. Meadowstone Farm, for example, and they give us their butternut squash, and we make butternut squash gooey cake with it to put in our ice cream, and it's everyone loves it, and then like, oh, yeah, now you put squash in it, and oh, what's the farmer's name? Oh, it's Tim over at Meadowstone, and so that's like this really special.
Ice cream. I want ice cream. We're all going out for ice cream after this.
Notice hereby that a public meeting of Strafford County Legislative Delegation is scheduled to be held Wednesday, March 20th, 2024 at 7 p.m. with snow date of Wednesday, March 27th, 2024 at 7 p.m. This meeting will be held in the Superior Courtroom, 1/2 floor of the William A. Grimes Justice Salary. Any other business which may legally become for the delegation?
Okay. Please call the.
Tinkerbird,
Present.
Bailey,
Present.
Beggs,
President.
Bickford,
Yes.
Bixby,
Here.
Burnham,
Present.
Hannon,
Here.
Conlon,
Here.
Connor,
Present.
Fitzpatrick, Southworth,
Here.
11. Turnout,
Yes.
Vincent,
I'm here, Cassandra.
We see you, Susan.
Wall,
It is on. First, question, I noticed, there is, along with this motion, there is a document dated January 26th of this year, legal opinion regarding remote participation in public meetings. Has this document been sent out to the delegation prior to tonight?
I requested it. I'm not sure if it went to others, but I requested it. I know I got it.
The chair, the question was to the chair.
Yeah.
I had to inquire if it went out or not. It's been discussed, at some point, but I mean.
I would like to get a, maybe the chairman to it, since the chairman will be making the decision as to what, hear from the chairman as some examples as to what he may consider reasonable or not.
And I take your question seriously, and one of the issues, as you know, that the delegation has debated and discussed previously on the occasion when we were accepting such voting privileges, if we had a physical quorum of people who were on the Zoom, as Representative 11 is at the moment. And it was my ruling in each instance that we were going to abide by our practice and precedent to allow people who were present on Zoom to state their location, who was with them and so forth under the statute and so forth. But after discussions, it was my feeling that that we definitely should have the delegation vote on this, and that's the reason for the motion and the discussion at the present time. So, you have further questions?
Yes, that didn't actually answer the question. The question I had is what is going to be determined to be reasonable? And if it's determined to be reasonable one time, will that carry forward to the next time? As an example, let's just say we have somebody who is on vacation.
Well, let's, if I may interrupt you slightly, let me complete the answer, which I intended to address in any case, and that is, to give you an example. One of the cases that was objected to, I believe by you, but if you will recall whether it was you or not, was that Representative Heath Howard was absent physically, from the state of New Hampshire. I believe he was down in the state of Connecticut. And he was permitted to vote, as the minutes a reference, you recall our discussion. I stated that had it been at the moment it was actually occurring, that I would rule that the fact that he was physically out of the state, that coming back a matter of, I don't know, 4 or 5 hour drive and so forth, that his participation by Zoom was, in my judgment, a reasonable use of the privilege, not reasonably able to be present. That would be an example of something. Or we had another instance that comes to mind. Representative Kenny was absent one evening. He had, I believe he had COVID, but he was quite sick in any case. And I would have ruled that having him here where he would possibly communicate whatever he had to some or all of us would also not be in the best interest of the delegation or good order and comity. So that would be another example. Would that be sufficient to give you an idea of what I would determine to be the, of course, as I promised you on a number of occasions, I won't be chairman forever. And when that day comes, then the new chairman will have to rule in instances in which he or she encounters the issue and have to make up their mind and state their acceptance thereof, and the delegation could come to a vote, I suppose, if there was a challenge of ruling the chair.
Mr. Chairman.
Since you brought it up,
Yeah.
so this is not to pick on Representative Howard, but it is a good example of what may or may not be reasonable. Representative Howard had mentioned after the discussion or during the discussion that he could have been here. As we talked about our side of the aisle, everybody was here. There were several people who weren't here that could have been. And some of the excuses were given, well, it was close to Christmas and this and that. So my point is, reasonable, what is reasonably, practically, and practical is a very, very subjective term. I understand where this is going to go now. I think in the future, there'll be a way to actually tackle this. But my concern is, it is very subjective. And I'm concerned that whether or not the chair will consistently apply his definition of reasonable. Thank you.
Okay, and just in further response to that, if you recall, I see you now. If you recall, Representative Harrington was absent at one point, and I believe he was in one of the South Sea Islands. He's here, so we can respond. But he was definitely not. I don't think he was in the continental reach of the United States. So clearly, he could, given sufficient notice and so forth, he could return, but I would say that would be completely impractical and unreasonable. And I believe that due to the fact that Representative Howard said he could have made it, was after the fact. So we were debating how many deck chairs would be on the port side and how many on the starboard side of the Titanic as we went down. I would have to say that there's always the option of a challenge to the ruling of the chair, and then it goes to the members present to determine whether the challenge is accepted or rejected. So,
Point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're more than welcome.
Point of order, please. Usually when I give a motion to second, I get to say why I made the motion, and I never even got to say why I made it.
You're right.
So, you know.
Well, I stated the reason that I decided to move forward with the motion, and that was because we've been acting in practice and precedent. And that I thought it was only reasonable when we had a motion to deal with it as soon as possible.
Thank you. I know it moved quickly, I understand that. The reason I made the motion is that I believe larger participation we have, the better it is for everyone, all our constituents and so on. I think whether someone's on vacation, whatever they're doing, if they want to participate in the meeting and listen to it, and then vote, I think that's good for their constituents. I've been in many meetings with Zoom, and I have not heard people debating whether someone's reason is good or bad. We do have, it's what a reasonable person would think. But that's why I thought it would be good in the motion to assign it to the chair. But my thought in doing the motion would be, really anyone who's on Zoom can vote. I mean, the chair can overrule me, but my sense is if you're here on Zoom, listening to the whole meeting, and you've read over the material, you should vote to support your constituents. So that's just why I mean. Thank you.
May I speak to my second?
You need the mic. I think he's fine.
I did see you. Go ahead, yes, you're right.
Thank you. Sorry, I just thought we were following rules of order. I understand the process here tonight.
I am very much in support of this motion because all of us have unexpected circumstances that arise. It could be that we get in work fires, we can't leave our homes. It could be that we're traveling. It could be that we have a work meeting that runs really late. It could be that we're at a house session that doesn't conclude until such time as this meeting begins. And by participating remotely, you're still serving our constituents. I think that it serves all of our voters in their best interest if they have all of our voices heard, regardless of which side of the aisle they're on, and then all of us deserve that opportunity.
Thank you, Representative Newton. I believe I saw your hand as well.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Just chat.
I get to talk aloud.
We can hear you, but for the recording.
Yeah, I get it. My recording comes out good. So we go to different night?
I think we should get to a different line. Representative Newton, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm reading this opinion from the county attorney, and it reads well. The date is January 26, 2024. Has anybody else here read the Attorney General just came out with a right to know memorandum March 14th. And in it, he covers the meetings of whether being on Zoom or being there at a large extent. And I've only read it twice, but there's a lot of stuff in there. And I know the emphasis is the big difference is government, like a government body and government agency. And they have a lot of leniency with agency, but the point I believe he made in government body is you gotta be there, you should be there at the meeting. And I know one of the things I did glean, which is in here, is you have to have a physical quorum at the meeting to have the meeting before you let anybody else come in on Zoom. They can't be part of it to make the quorum. But I'm just wondering if this is a little premature. I'd ask the attorney, the county attorney, have you had a chance to review that memorandum?
From the Attorney General?
The one from Camella.
No, I haven't.
So I would offer that we might be a little premature on this, because one of the big things I noticed, and you'll find when you look at it, it just came out March 14th, which happened to be my wife's birthday too, by the way. So there is a new Attorney General memorandum on it. It's out March 14th, it's really fresh. I would offer that we hold off on doing anything with this till the county attorney gets to review that memorandum. And again, in length, he goes into the differences between the public bodies and public agencies having meetings by Zoom and what have you. I can't stress enough that the new memorandum, you may get it well, but it's very technical. It's a lot of pages, covers case law. It's a great memorandum, but this guy wasn't, Foster, you can read his pretty good from 2015, but this one is fresh, and there's a lot of technical information in it. So again, I think it might be a little premature to go on stuff with a new memorandum already out, and we can review it, and then that may help us clarify things. It may say, well, what you did, you shouldn't have done. I don't know. Okay. Could I make a motion to table?
There's been a motion to table.
Does that override this first?
Privileged motion, yes.
I think a motion to table has to be acted on time is made.
Seconded.
But then we discuss it.
Second,
Second by Representative Turcott. So one of the things that the memorandum that was provided to everyone indicates that when we have a Zoom situation as we do with Representative Levin waiting for a decision here, that has to, all votes have to be by roll call. So,
Mr. Chairman,
yeah,
if I may, just a question. This motion that we have in front of us is just for tonight's meeting. This is not saying anything for future meetings. If in fact the Attorney General's letter says that you're improper, then we won't do it in the future, because our precedent to this point has been to let people such as Mr. Harrington and Mr. Howard participate in meetings, and we're just continuing that process for Representative Levin. I don't see this as setting precedent. It says right at the top, delegation meeting on Wednesday, March 20th. And it says to continue the practices. That's all we're doing at this time for tonight's meeting. I think that that's the way we should deal with this. Is only for tonight's meeting to allow one member who happens to be home with an illness to participate.
your points are well taken, but there's a motion to table has been seconded. We're going to have the roll call on that issue.
Just to clarify, my motion is for the future, it's not for tonight.
So I-
Again, I made the motion and I was the one that sent it in. I mean, I'm not trying to speak out of turn, but
We have a motion to table. I think
now we have a motion to table and we can discuss it.
Clerk will follow the motion to table.
Are we discussing?
We need to discuss it.
There's no discussion.
Okay,
on the
no,
table.
thank you.
Tankerberg,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Fay,
No.
Bickford,
Yes.
Bixby,
No.
Burnham,
Yes.
Hammond,
No.
Conlon,
no,
Connor,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
No.
Granger,
Yes.
Grassi,
No.
Harrington,
Yes.
Corrigan,
Yes.
Corrigan,
No.
Howard,
No.
Collins,
no,
Kaczynski,
Yes.
Lamontagne, no. I vote no. Newman,
Yes.
No.
Finney,
Yes.
Tenza,
Yes.
Rich, Schmidt,
No,
Selig,
No.
Southward,
No.
Turcott,
Yes.
Wall, does Representative Eleven vote?
hasn't been recognized yet. Explain why. The result of the tabling motion is 16 no, 15 yes. Well, the tabling motion is defeated. So, now, I believe the next order of business is, the motion to proceed with our, codify, if you will, at least for tonight's meeting, the, ability of somebody who's here on the Zoom, to participate. So Representative Perry, you recognize.
Thank you. I believe
We
Representative.
have to have you in the mic.
I believe the representative who made the motion was doing this to recognize our existing policy, and it will be in place for the foreseeable future until someone brings forth other information, and we can vote on it again. But we have the backup information that we have, and I believe this was presented back in January. It may not have been tweeted out or emailed, yesterday, but we've discussed it. And I believe the attorney who made this, who wrote this was in fact in our meeting. So I think we should recognize what our existing policy is, go forward with that until such time as other information is presented. Thank you.
First of all, we all have to be done by 8 AM tomorrow morning, to go to the session, so, I don't want to take up too much time, because we don't have much time, we like 12 hours. I think, our practice and precedent hasn't allowed members to wish to participate by Zoom. We have, there were 2 members who asked for excuses, or weren't there for some other reasons, so the one present via Zoom. I think, we should respect the reasons of all 7 or however many reps it is, the reasons for doing what they're doing. And certainly I don't exactly see why. It would be nice, would be better if Representative Trevon could come in person, if she can, but I'm not sure if she can't come in person, why. I think it's better for her to be able to participate via Zoom than not to participate at all. So I think the current policy is a good one, even though it's better to be present via Zoom than not present at all. So we should not also, I think there's a courtesy member, you should not really, unless it's something totally outrageous, you should not question the reasons. Because she was absent or being absent or being present via Zoom, we should respect the reasons why would they are.
Thank you, Representative Patel.
So I would like to just move forward because we have a lot of business to go. So isn't the person that's on Zoom supposed to state who's where their location is and the brief reason for why they're not here, and we can move on with the meeting?
Well, I chose to not include her in the roll call because that's the very issue we're debating, whether somebody who's present only on Zoom can be counted as allowed to vote. That's why I may allow that motion at this time. Representative Kaczynski.
Thank you. I participated in a Zoom meeting here at the county last year. And, I gotta say, it's probably one of the worst meetings I ever participated in because I couldn't hear most of it. The video, the audio here was horrible. And as it went on, I just shut the thing off because it was like not even being there. I think Zoom meetings are a horrible way to do government meetings. So, I don't put meetings on this, but am I to believe that this is only for this meeting? Because it says that future delegations can vote on this, so it sounds to me like you're adopting it for the rest of the term.
Representative 11, I'm going to recognize you to speak.
Mike, it's on.
Yeah. Mike, you're muted.
Can you unmute yourself?
Hello, I've been trying to unmute myself and the host has continued to mute me. So if I sound a little frustrated, that's why. Thank you for letting me speak. What I want to say is what I've been facing is a chronic disease that many of you have probably been exposed to, and you may even have experienced some of the symptoms that I've experienced, although my symptoms have been going on for over 3.5 months now. My brain works just fine, but my body is not working so well. So I have been privy to the world of people who are disabled permanently, of which I really had not been privy to before. And let me tell you, I've learned a lot in the last 3.5 months about how we treat persons who are differently abled than we are. I think that at this point in time, to have a sentient person, and I do understand how difficult it is to participate via Zoom, representative, because this is the second or third time I've done it, although I'm very glad for the opportunity to do it. I would encourage you to go forward with the policy that allows us to have our members join us on Zoom should they have a disability, should they have some sort of family obligation, excuse me, should they be out of the country, but they could participate in our meeting nonetheless, until we find out, as you said earlier, we've done something terribly wrong or we've done it in a very wrong way. Thank you very much for listening to me. I do appreciate it.
Okay. Representative Howard.
Yeah, I'd like to put a motion to move the question.
Okay. Question has been moved. You have to have a roll call on that as well. Clerk will call on roll.
Anchorman? No. Bailey?
No.
Fay?
Yes.
Bickford?
Yeah.
Bixby?
Yeah.
Burnham?
No.
Hannon?
Yeah.
Conlon?
Yeah.
Connor?
No.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Granger?
No.
Grassi?
Yes.
Harrington?
Yes.
Corrigan? Corrigan?
No.
Corrigan?
Yes.
Howard?
Yes.
Howland?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
No.
Lamontagne? Yes. And what? Yes. Newton?
No.
Hare?
Yes.
Finney?
No.
Capenza?
No.
Rich? Yes. Smith?
Yes.
Sally? Yes. Southward?
Yeah.
Turcott?
Yeah, no.
Gesagt, it's gesagt, if they're saying German.
Wall?
Yes.
Little people vote. You need two-thirds of the number of people voting for previous one. Okay, you need two-thirds. For previous question.
No, it's simple majority.
How many yeas?
11.
How many was
Eight people, well, then you have. No. So, how many people voted? How many? Two-thirds of people who voted. That's what you need for this. Yeah, right, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
If you don't have two-thirds.
So. Yeah. Motion, previous question. Okay, the motion was defeated, we need a two-thirds vote. Yes, Representative Granger.
Why do we need 2/3?
That was
just like-
previous question cuts debate. Any motion that cuts debate requires a two-thirds vote. That's in Robert's Rules of Order.
The motion to call the question failed, or the motion?
Calling the question and previous question on the same motion.
Point of order,
Yeah.
what was the vote count?
Read the vote count again.
The vote count is 12 to 18.
No, it's
Well, you should take the yeas first.
Yeas, 19 yeas and 11 nays.
No,
Thank you.
that's not true. That's not We have 13 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Why are we voting on a question? We have previous practices that we've allowed people to vote by Zoom. This question is pretty much irrelevant at this time because common practices allow us to vote by Zoom previously. Unless somebody can prove that we can't vote by Zoom and that we need to have this vote, why do we need to have this vote?
Was I recognized or not?
He called the previous question, and the statute says we have to have a roll call on every motion.
But why are we having this motion anyway? Because common practice that we've been using, our historical practice is to let people vote Zoom. For the last year, you've had people voting by Zoom without this question. And if he withdrew his question, we could move on to other business. If we withdrew his motion right now, we could move on with other business and Susan could vote based on our previous practices.
Parliamentarian, what's your ruling on that?
Parliamentarians don't make ruling, chairs make.
Well,
But everything that Chuck said makes perfect sense.
all right, in that case, I'm gonna rule that we are going to, if the motion is, previous motion is withdrawn, represent Southwest motion, we could. go
Yeah, I'm
back.
glad to withdraw it. I was trying to clarify for the future, but I'm glad to withdraw.
We'll deal with it at another time.
Okay.
Then I'll withdraw my second.
Like at the end of the meeting.
We're going to proceed with our previous practice, which is that people on Zoom can state their location, whether they're alone or not, and then we'll proceed. So Representative Levin, please state where you are and who's with you.
Mr. Chair, I am at 454 6th Street in Dover, New Hampshire, in my kitchen. I am not alone. My husband and my 2 cats are in the living room.
All right, we're going to proceed with the agenda. So item 6 is discuss and nominate candidates for the Strafford County Peace Development Authority representative position. The current incumbent is Mr. Stephen Fournier, the town manager of the town of Newmarket. He's currently in holdover status because we held off on having a vote to nominate him because it's an expensive proposition to have the delegation meet. We waited until we were having a delegation meeting as we are now. So there was one candidate that applied, one applicant for the position of a PDA representative from Strafford County, and that was Stephen Fournier himself. So this time, I'm reporting the fact that he was the only candidate, and therefore it's time for us to vote to nominate him to the Speaker, the Governor, and the Senate President for their appointment to have the position in regular order. So yes. So moved by Representative Grassley, seconded by Representative Selig. I saw you. Their discussion. Seeing none, clerk will call the roll.
There was one hand up.
I didn't see you.
I know, we're behind the thing.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll recognize you after we have the vote. What?
Let me speak before the.
Okay, they saw you, I did not see you, but I recognize you.
This is the third election in recent months with one candidate. I don't, if I was all by myself in the booth and there was one candidate, I would not vote for them. And you told me on the first one, I'm not allowed to abstain, so it's gonna have to be no. Am I allowed to abstain?
If you want to vote no, vote no.
Don't you find it a little peculiar that there's never any other candidates?
No.
It's like some kind of Soviet election or something. 3 elections and one candidate each time.
You can run.
Well, okay.
It's not.
What might need
that?
that? I think I can get 13 votes.
Representative, it doesn't strike me as unusual. We've had it 3 times in a row.
But we were told also in one of the subcommittees that there was a practice of not taking pay increases so that there would be no nominees against the person running. And guess what? We have no candidates running against the person. Because of past practice of not giving people pay raises.
For most of the time I've been in the delegation, we've had competitive application processes where we had several people run for PDA representative. Sometimes the person sought re-election was defeated by another applicant. That was the case with the late Frank Torr. But as it so happens in this instance, nobody else applied except the person who has a position.
So the third and evidently is about to be a fourth with no opposition.
Well,
I don't know what you're used to, but I don't like the smell of it.
Mr. Chairman.
well, you can like or dislike what you want in that regard, but if we only have one candidate and it happens to be the person who has the position, I don't think that that's, a reason for disqualification.
Question, Mr. Chair,
Yes,
was this posted in the newspapers?
yes,
Yes, so I've read it multiple times in the newspapers. Am I not, did I not see it multiple times in the newspaper?
I believe it ran multiple times, yes.
Thank you.
Foster's.
Somebody nominate.
I nominate Glenn Bailey for the position.
Representative, what's that?
I nominate Glenn Bailey for the position.
That's fine. Okay, so,
I second that nomination.
Can he legally serve as a member of the delegation?
I don't think so.
That's a problem. I think you can't legally serve as a member of the delegation. If you have somebody who's not a state representative, they can serve. But a member of the delegation, I don't think they can serve.
I nominate Susan Rice.
Fine.
there you go. We have an election?
I second that.
Okay, and we want to have ballots? Every election has, when we're acting for the delegate, for the people, it has to be an open vote.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, so. Have that, paper ballot. Oh, yeah, done. All right, so this is an open vote. And the person will state for whom they're voting. When the roll is called.
Question of the chair.
State your question.
What for the chair of the parliamentarian is a open vote in accordance with Robert's rules of order, or should this be a secret ballot vote?
I think there's a different opinion. I think in the right, under 91A or someplace in the law, I think I remember a number of years ago on the city council, they challenged a number of people at, they said there was a state law that says when you're voting and as a public body, it has to be a public vote, it cannot be by a secret ballot.
Representative Harrington.
Correct?
Yeah, but quick question, that somebody nominated, do we even know if she's gonna accept the job if she wins?
How much does it pay?
We don't know that.
That's not the
I think we should hear from the candidates whether they wanna take the job or not. What's the sense of voting for someone?
You guys are on it, so.
We haven't even heard.
There further nominations.
Yes.
You're not part of the delegation. Sit down, please. Are there further nominations from the floor? Seeing none, nominations closed. Call the roll. Please.
They'll tell you, when they call the roll, you want to do that, you'll say who you're voting for.
Okay.
Ingeberg.
Who are the candidates?
Rice and Fuanya.
Rice.
Bailey,
Ms. Susan Rice.
Fay,
I respectfully vote for Mr. Stephen Fournier.
Bickford,
Fournier.
Bixby,
Stephen Fournier.
Burnham,
Susan Rice.
Cannon,
Stephen Fournier.
Conlon,
Stephen Fournier.
Connor,
Susan Rice.
Fitzpatrick,
Fournier.
Granger,
Susan Rice.
Grassy,
Fuanya.
Harrington,
Rice.
Morgan,
Fournier.
Corrigan,
Fournier.
Howard,
Fournier.
Allen,
Fournier.
Kuzinski,
Susan Rice.
Lamontagne, Stephen Fournier. The clerk for Spurnier. Noon,
Susan.
Hare,
Stephen Fournier.
Finney,
Susan Rice.
Potenza, Susan Rice. Rich, Stephen Fournier. Smith,
Stephen Fournier.
Selig, Stephen Fournier. Southworth,
Stephen Fournier.
Levin,
Stephen Fournier.
Turcott,
Ms. Rice,
Wall,
Stephen Foreman.
Gray,
Aye.
Waters,
Fournier.
it is 21.
The vote is 21-12, favor of Stephen Fournier, Representative Churchill.
thank you, Mr. Chairman, just, in accordance with, every other time, I'm going to object to the individual being on Zoom, not being able to. Thank you.
All right, your objection is no. Representative South.
And I'd like to add to that, that we just voted, following past practice, which is our precedent.
And Mr. Chair,
Spoke with Mr. Fournier last night. He is the city, the town manager in Newmarket, as I stated, and he indicated that he has a city, at his town council meeting this evening, and he regrets his inability to be in two places at one side, and he has to be in Newmarket doing his job. Yes, then fill out your rating.
thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Grassi, for your help in that. Excuse me, Representative Grassi. I'm just wondering about the candidate, Ms. Rice, and if her qualifications had been presented to the committee prior to the vote.
He was nominated from the floor.
Okay, thank you very much.
May I go? Representative Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Should we have asked though, for anyone here or her to expound a little bit about themselves that's been nominated?
Yeah, that's all
I mean, it's not like that. We do that.
Item 7, I don't have an answer for you. Item 7. Item 7. Well, we've already, so I'm stating the fact that the vote will be submitted to the governor, the speaker of the house, and the president of the senate, as the statute calls for, and that has been our past practice as well. Current term shall be for 3 years until his or her successor shall have been appointed. Okay, now, item 8. The candidate, have one candidate for the remainder of the Strafford County Sheriff's term, and that is Joe McGivern, the acting sheriff. So, the sheriff, it is your opportunity to introduce yourself. Yes.
Good evening, members of the delegation, commission, Mr. Bauer, other county officials, and members of the public that are with us tonight. For those that don't know me, my name is Joseph McGivern. I'm the chief deputy with the sheriff's office, been with the sheriff's office for quite a while now. And I'm also a candidate for the position of sheriff for the remainder of the term for this year. I've been in law enforcement with the county for probably my whole adult life. I started with the Dover Police Department, spent 22 years there, and then continued on with the county, rose through the ranks, in various assignments, covered just about every aspect of the sheriff's office. So, come here tonight, thanking you for your continued support all along. As you all know, it's been a pretty rough year. And thank you all for your support, including everybody in this room and the folks on the Zoom as well. And I'm also asking you for your consideration of the position tonight, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have or concerns. And thank you for your time.
Other questions of the candidate? Other questions of the candidate? Representative Shelley.
It's not so much a question as I just want to thank you for, in a time of turmoil, stepping up to create stability.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Are there further questions? Representative Pretender.
Yeah, I just wanted to ditto the previous representative. This was a very difficult situation for our county and for that department. And there's been a lot of work that's been done, and I appreciate the time that he has spent in stepping into this position.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yes, Representative Finney.
Thank you for your time. Are you intending to run after the term was completed?
No, sir. By the end of October, as stated in the letter, that you should all receive, I'll turn 70 on October 24. And by statute, you have to vacate the office when you're ready.
Thank you for being on record.
Further questions? Seeing none, clerk will call the roll.
We need to make a motion.
What's that?
Do we need to make a formal motion? Do we need to make a formal motion?
I thought I heard one.
Oh,
Sure. Well, I heard one. Move to approve, Joe given his, second. Second by Representative Zuvier, your name. May proceed.
Nickelberg,
Yes.
Bailey,
No.
Fay,
Yes.
Bickford,
Yes.
Bixby,
Yes.
Burnham,
Yes.
Cannon,
Yes.
Conlon,
Yes.
Connor,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Granger,
No.
Grassy,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Corrigan,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Howland,
Yeah.
Krasinski,
Yes.
Lamontaine,
yeah.
Thank you, Mayor.
the clerk votes yes. Newton,
Yes.
Hare,
Yes.
Petrie,
Not here.
sorry, Finney,
Yeah.
Capenza,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
Southworth,
Yes.
11,
Yes.
Turcott,
Yes.
Wall,
Yes.
and Schmidt.
Yeah.
Who knows, 28 yes.
I didn't any nothing earlier.
I said yes.
He said yes.
Benny says yes.
Okay. No, you're recorded as a yes, Representative Finney.
Okay.
There was Representative Bailey and Representative Granger that voted.
I heard my name, so I wanted to be clear.
All right.
Yes or no.
So, Sheriff, congratulations.
What was the total vote? 28 for two.
You lost a couple votes.
Okay. Item 13. Receive recommendations of the General Government Subcommittee on Commissioners 2024 proposed budget.
You have the chairman. Okay, yeah. So, we actually ended up having a meeting Friday, March 15th, a few days ago, which was, after we originally scheduled one for February 16th, but there's a little procedural hiccup, so we reconvened the committee on March 15th and had a forum the second time around. And the first thing we did, first department, there's several resource agencies, all of which well, 3 of them are ones we support because it improves the quality of life for people in Strafford County and also the community, since it keeps them out of the nursing homes. So that would be Meals on Wheels, Easter Seals, and Easter Seals and the coach transportation provides. We subsidize basically the cost of the transportation that they provide to the courthouse. These 33 buses stop right up front, and then there's also some rides, on-call rides for the nursing home residents. We also approved the budget for the conservation district and the cooperative extension, and these were all, with the exception of the soil conservation district, are all pretty much about the rate of inflation. Conservation district hasn't asked the raise in several years. We gave it an 8% raise, which basically catches up with what they missed in 2016. That well, what the exact numbers are. Just then, if you had a little bit, the biggest item in our budget, about 40% was 49,212 Medicaid costs. That's something that's set by the state. It's basically a mechanism to pay for property taxes rather than any other state income sources that they can come up with. That in turn pays for care to Strafford County residents, such as at the nursing home. And we also, the Administrative Commissioner's Office, including this body, the county convention, approved their budget. There's registry of deeds, which is actually a profit center for the county. So we have to include the expense part of the budget to make revenues are going down a bit because the real estate market is slowing down, but it's still very profitable. Profitable aside from the transactions, they also have an ongoing program. There's older records are bound volumes, and they've been renovating the bound volumes because some of them go back, I think, to the 17th century. I think some of the oldest ones. So that's we also have the basis of this building that we're in. That's actually paid for in large part by the court system, which uses this for superior courts and other courts, and they don't actually necessarily have to be there, but they're there because we provide a secure and clean and good facility for them to work. And there's also the Dorchester Cafe, and kind of downstairs that provides services, especially to the courts, because they often have to feed the juries when they have meetings and they sequester the jury, and there's also paying for the employees at the county. So that's very 30,000 good view of what we had. It's the same, it's exactly the same budget the commissioners grew up with back in February. So we again, those what you could have and approved it. Anything more I need to say? I said Chairman Bauer, Minister Bauer, let's check out more details. We recommended that you approve the approved budget, which is the same budget, it's going to change it from what it was submitted to us a couple months ago, we're starting this process.
Thank you. Administrator Bauer, do you have anything to add? No, sir. All right. Representative Taylor.
Excuse me, I move for you to accept the minutes as presented.
So that's been moved by Representative Taylor, is there a second? Representative Bixby, second. Board members of the subcommittee, are there further questions or comments? Please, sorry, go ahead. No, not acceptance of the minutes, so the acceptance of the general government in total.
I would like somebody to explain to me the easy to I don't fully
Can't
understand.
hear you.
Yeah, I can't hear anybody.
That one of the things that our state can see that.
My motion was simply to accept the minutes as presented, and if we want to discuss the budget, that's the only question.
Report of
Received the.
that was your motion. The recommendation of the general government subcommittee.
And here's a question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And your question is about the Easter season.
Yeah.
All right, so Ray, would you address that? Sure, because you have to use the my side.
First paragraph one. Starting at the numbers and 26% of. 1161 line down. What? And then we got 309 individuals, over 52,000.
I'm sorry, we can't hear anything. Can you please use the microphone?
Here's 26% of the total. And it's only 2,000.
Hang on a second. As long as we have all this crosstalk in the back there, you certainly can't hear anything that's being questioned or answered. All right?
We can't actually hear anything, but yes, you're right.
So, at the very least, it's not appropriate, and I'd ask you to cease and desist. All right? Representative, Mr. Bauer, you're recognized again.
Certainly, just want to refresh everybody's memory that Easter Seals, homemakers. Homemakers in Strafford County has been long funded, by this delegation. The purpose in funding is to pay for those things that aren't covered, by the state Title 20 and Medicaid. And the goal is to use this funding to keep people out of the need for nursing home placement. They, along with Meals on Wheels, are the two primary entities that Strafford County funds that keeps people at home, or at least out of the need for nursing home placement. So to be specific in your questions, Easter Steel is bought or took over Homemakers when Homemakers was folded. They didn't have enough other business to keep it busy. And the amount of money that the county pays or the county contributes, just helps them stem some of the loss. It doesn't, they still lose money on providing the homemaker services, which includes, running errands, coordinating with Meals on Wheels, doing laundry, cleaning homes, so that, again, people can stay home. So the 26%, is obviously 1/4 of their total, people that they serve. But remember, they're a statewide agency. We're only funding them for what they do in Strafford County. I'm not sure if I answered all your questions or.
That's the one more. The $80,000 in extra that goes towards uncompensated. $385,000. Uncompensated care,
That's correct.
$80,000 that we give in.
Yes, sir.
Uncompensated care.
Towards that
So
uncompensated
we
care.
have towards 385,000 or it's over 400,000.
No, that's towards the 385,000 uncompensated care. So in other words, they fundraise or they provide other services for which their payment exceeds their expenses. They use that to fund the deficit, and we contribute 80,000 towards that $300+ thousand deficit.
No question.
Yes, sir.
The 52,000
Yes, sir.
that's spent by the 309 individuals.
No, I believe what you'll find is that those are volunteer hours beyond the hours that are spent. They have a number of volunteers that help, besides pay for it.
So does that include the 309 or
That is included in the 309.
Other further questions regarding this motion? Seeing none, clerk will call the roll. Mr. Vaughn. This is on approval of the recommendation of the report on the general government subcommittee, item 13. Are you ready for the question?
Yes.
Go ahead, call the
Anchorberg,
Yeah, question of the chair, do we need to have a roll call for minutes vote? Can we just all say yes to the minutes?
No.
Every vote's a roll call.
The statute says every vote is a roll call.
Okay,
That's what it says. You can read it. But it's in your paper.
carry on.
Anchorberg,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Fay. Yes. Bickford,
Yes.
Bixby,
Yes.
Burnham. Yes. Hannon,
Yes.
Conlon,
Yes.
Connor,
Yeah.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Granger,
Yes.
Grassy,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Organ? Yes.
Corrigan,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Howland,
Yes.
Kaczynski,
Yes.
Lamontaine. Yes.
Yes. You voted yes, thank you.
Lamontaine. Yes. Clerk votes yes. Newton,
Yeah.
Hare. Yes. Finney,
Yes.
Potenza. Yes. Rich. Yes. Selig. Yes. Smith. Southworth,
Yes.
Levin,
Yes,
Turcott,
I don't believe you can count my vote. I was absent when the vote was called.
Wall. Smith,
Yes.
$29-0.
Okay. Thank you. So that is item 14. We received recommendations of the Delegation Executive Committee on Commissioners 2024 budget. So at the last meeting of the Executive Committee, we heard from the other committees, other subcommittees, the Criminal Justice Subcommittee, the General Revenue Subcommittee, the General Government Subcommittee report was, it was not read because it was objected to as not, a legal meeting since there was no quorum. The Executive Committee, deliberated and, voted. Don't have the, document in front of me. I believe it was a unanimous vote, to approve, the recommendations of the subcommittee. And at this time, we have to have a roll call on the recommendations of the executive committee. Report of the executive committee. So, are you ready for the question? Representative, you recognize.
Would this be the appropriate time to, discuss some of the issues with the subcommittee that we had, or is that gonna call the chance
If
to
you have
discuss that
questions, I think,
later?
if you have questions, please state your question.
So we'll do it now.
Now,
Okay. You all right?
am I all right?
Are you all right? Seymour?
You want me to do some push-ups or something?
No, I just want you to be well.
I am as well as I could be under the circumstances.
You know,
How do I look to you, Representative Kaczynski, about the usual way? Do I look okay?
All right, to me.
You're the farthest one away. I'm gonna trust your vision.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of questions on and from the Revenue Committee. You know, when it's done, I'm gonna go to the last page of the document you guys have. It's got the budget on the desk today. And it shows the estimate of revenues. Yeah, that's very large. Yeah, there's no page on here, but it's estimate of revenue. At the top of the page, there's estimate of revenues in the Riverside Restaurant detail, estimate of revenues, will be all on the page.
I'm looking at the Strafford County Commissioner's proposed 24 budget amended. Is that what you're looking at?
I'm looking at the estimate of revenues is at the top of the page, because I was on the Revenue and Capital Improvements Committee. Yeah, it's the next to the last page on this, the document that in front of it is the Commissioner's proposed budget, right? And I apologize for this not being clear enough, because there's no page numbers on there. It would be easier, but certainly if everybody could get to that, when you can, I'll continue with my concern.
Everyone has a page of the budget. Anyone does not have it? I believe that everyone has it. Please proceed.
Okay, you know, as I looked at this in the Revenue Committee, we kind of got pushed to do it all in an hour and 45 minutes, which was a lot to get through and be thorough. And some of the questions and answers I didn't think was as thorough as they could be. And some of it was not really clear to me. And I'll give an example. If you look down to item 01906600 ARPA funds, you'll see a number of $1,581,440,000 in revenues. But in going back through the commissioner's minutes for the last year, they moved a considerable amount of money from ARPA funds to general fund. And the amount that their minutes show they moved was $7,097,305.17. So I believe the response that I got when I asked, why is there such a discrepancy? I was told that there's two buckets of money. One of them is the money that we control, the other is the oversight is by the DRA and the federal government themselves. And I just think that this is not a very honest way to, if a citizen is looking at this budget and they see $1,581,440 for ARPA funds spent for the year, and then you go back through the commissioner's minutes and you find out they actually moved around over $7 million. I wish something could be done so that's a little more clear to anybody that wants to see it and is more upfront and transparent than it is, that's a pretty substantial amount of money for a difference. And that was a concern that I had, that I did bring up to the Revenues Committee, because again, it's a pretty substantial difference. And the other question that I had,
You want to?
yeah, please, if you want to respond to that, answer, excellent.
Sure, and as you mentioned at the executive committee meeting, Representative Newton, that the governor has control of the ARPA funds, the commissioner has to have control of the ARPA funds. So the movement that was done at the commissioners meeting is for the purposes of auditing and for the purposes of showing the federal government how those funds were spent. So they're not funds that are controlled by the delegation.
Okay, so that will be, the people will be able to see that in the annual report, they'll be able to see all that if they want to see it.
And not only the annual report, they'll be able to see it in the audit report.
Okay, good.
And the audit's going on right now as we speak.
Thank you.
They went home at 5:30.
Well, what I meant is today. I meant today.
No, it's ongoing. I've seen them there in the last several days. Go ahead.
Okay, and the other concern I had, at the bottom of that, both the same columns is offsetting revenues from fund balance. That seems to be a first year line item, isn't been used in the past. And fund balance is actually, there's 4 or 5 different funds that make up the fund balance. Could you clarify exactly what fund out of the fund balance is being used for this?
Unrestricted fund balance.
It's unrestricted
It's the unrestricted fund balance.
and not the unassigned.
I'm sorry, it's the unassigned fund balance. It used to be called unrestricted, now it's called unassigned. It's a change on auditing terminologies.
Okay, so it's the unassigned, and I would assume that the unassigned fund balance, and I hate to assume things because you don't know, so I'll ask. The commissioners have a fund balance policy
Yes, sir.
specific to unassigned fund balances. And, has that been followed with this quite well?
Yes, sir.
And is this why is it only showing up this year and not previous years?
We never had a fund balance. We had a fund balance about 20 years ago, and we used to use it to offset taxes. But in the last 20 years, we haven't had an adequate fund balance. We're barely making the minimum, as you know, as we've talked about before, we're barely making the minimum of the county's policy of fund balance, which is 5 to 13%, 12%, which is actually the Department of Revenue Administration recommends a larger fund balance on the upper end, but a minimum of 5. So we haven't had it to use before.
So is this being used to offset taxes?
Yes. Well, it's being used to offset the expenses. If we gave these expenses and didn't have that offsetting fund balance, then it would increase the taxes. So I guess it depends on how you look at it. It's used as a revenue to offset taxes.
Thank you.
But can I just further answer your question, Representative Newton?
Sure.
It's used in this specific case to offset one-time expenditures, not to offset operational expenditures. It exactly lines up with the expenditures that your committee approved for capital items, because they're one-time purchases. If you use it to offset operating expenses, you start that much next year in the hole. Because you don't know that you're gonna have that fund balance to be able to repeat that in the next year. So that's why it's a very poor practice, unless you have some astronomical amount of fund balance, which
never enjoyed in my tenure here. The use of fund balance to offset operating expenses. In this case, again, it's used simply to offset one-time risks.
You good? Are there further questions? I ask again, are there further questions? Being none, Representative Wall, you're recognized for the motion.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I move to accept the amount to be registered taxes, the amount of $40,298,405 for the Strafford County 2024 budget.
Second.
Second by Representative Strafford. Your discussion on the motion. Representative Potential.
There's a representative not here tonight that was, gonna put forward.
We can't hear you, Kelly, you gotta do that.
There was a representative tonight that was supposed to put a motion forward and, he's not here. And I know that this is probably needed at this point, but it's just, I feel like I need to say, in the essence of, for the taxpayers. So is there any possibility, of being able to tighten the belt on this and only have an impact to the taxpayers of an increase of 2% instead of the 4%? Is there any possible way that we could trim this in any way, for us to be able to support this? Is there any time or any work that could be done in this? And the reason why I'm saying this is because, so a lot of this is based upon revenue that's expected. And unfortunately, we know what spending is, we've got that in concrete, but we don't have, revenue is not guaranteed. And if we do get everything that we're expected to get in with revenue, that would be fantastic. And then we could decide to make some expenditures moving forward. But this is, in a sense, locking us into something, locking the taxpayers into something, and at a time when everyone that I know is struggling, I have a really hard time with this increase.
Good job. Representative Vernon, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm just kind of curious, we just see expenditures to September 30th. Do we have an idea of where we are with that year to date?
We sent it out.
Okay.
All to all the representatives. We sent it out actually the 1st of February.
The year to date?
The year to date, 1st of February. In fact,
Is this not?
I wish the missing state rep was here to say it, because he commented to me that I made it 14 days early. Because by statute, he believes it's due by February 14th. And so we sent it out the 1st of February.
Okay, I appreciate that, but the material that we have doesn't show that today, so that's why I'm asking.
I understand, but I didn't think we had to repeat that. We sent it out on the 14th, and no one had asked for it to be resent. So we did not resend it or provide it to see.
What is your date? Yeah, so this is dated January 15th, amended. This is at our chairs. However, it only goes to September. How come we just don't have it all together here today?
I guess I didn't think I need to send it a second time. You all got it. Nobody said that it was missing. Nobody asked for it during any of the subcommittee meetings. Nobody asked for it during the executive committee meeting. So we didn't resend it.
I'm sorry, but this is the copy you provided today. Is this correct?
That's the copy that was provided today.
would you not have the complete document today with the update? That's my question. We're voting on over $40 million. It would be nice to have the whole package together, updated. That's all I'm asking. And we do not have that, correct?
That's correct.
All right, thank you.
Further question? Representative?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Bauer, for being patient with us. That is a lot of money. A quick synopsis of the budget that I did, and I'm not a CPA. The CIP for December 22 to 23, which is what the tax caps go by. The CPA is 3.4% for last year. Now, 3.4% of 78 million, which was last year's budget, would be approximately 2.6 million. And these numbers may be off just a little, but they're approximate. So the 2023 approved budget was 78,002,950. 2024 proposed budget is 85,258,855. An increase from 2023 is $7,255,905, or a 9% spending increase over last year. 9%, folks. The adopted budget, the 2023 adopted budget, the amount to be raised by taxes was $38,678,084. The amount to be raised by taxes this year that we're voting on is $40,302,620. So the increase from 2023 is $1,624,536, or approximately 4.3%. So I heard the commissioner say over and over how we stay under the tax cap. We stay under the tax cap. Well, the tax cap does allow for more spending if you have more revenue. But it still is based on the CIP, which was 3.4%. And this year, if I use those numbers, we're going to approve a 4.3% increase. And the other thing.
Can I answer just that before we go to the next part? You okay?
Yeah.
Sure. You're misreading the tax. The tax cap in all three cities is not only the consumer price index, but it also is growth. So it's not just the CPI, it's CPI plus growth. The other thing is the tax cap has nothing to do with the total expenditure. The tax cap deals with the amount to be raised by taxes. That's why it's called a tax cap. So when you see we're estimating growth at 1%, and I think in all fairness, anybody that their growth in equalized assessed evaluation has been greater than 1%. So you're right, except we use October's, we can't wait till December. The budget has to be mailed out by January 15th. We spent 3 months preparing the budget, and then you guys spend at least a couple of months reviewing what we've done in the prior 3 months. So we use October's, fortunately, it's the same amount, it's 3.2%. So it didn't change between October and December. Because the cities are on a fiscal year, a July 1st budget, they have the luxury of waiting a little longer into the calendar year before they utilize a CPI. We don't, our budget's 6 months earlier, so we can't wait until December. But again, it doesn't matter in this case, because it was 3.2% in October also. So it's CPI plus growth. So the difference between the 4%, 4.3% that you're talking about, and the 3.2% that was CPI is our estimation. Actually, it's underestimation of growth in the county.
So just finishing up with what I was going along with this, you're right, and that the approved revenues for 2023 was 39,324,866, and for 2024, 44,956,236. A difference of 5,031,370, or approximately 14%. That's a pretty hefty growth in revenues. And I didn't understand with that growth in revenues, why the taxes are still going up.
Because expenses are going up. If you look at the vast majority of the county expenses, in the area of 70% are labor related. And we need to pay our people. And even though our cost for payment, fortunately, our health insurance only went up 3.02%. We negotiated that down from the original proposal of 18% to 3.02. And our increases for employees are 2% at the nursing home, 3% for the county employees, and 3% or a step, sorry, I take that back, a step in the system. And a small cost of living in July for the jail. And again, the purpose of doing that is so that next year we won't have to come back to you and ask for $1 million in overtime at the House of Correction, which is what the Criminal Justice Subcommittee approved this year. So we're hoping to hire our own people rather than paying our own people or ordering our own people to work, because we can't find people to work. So, you know, we're happy that we were able to acquire that additional revenue to help offset the expenses that we need to operate the county.
Representative Bickford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just making curious. How does paying the jail in the word guard, I guess, compare with the state at prison?
Well, I'm sorry. Our governor gave all state employees a 10% raise. And the legislature appropriated the money to give them that 10% raise. The majority of the legislature, authorized that 10% raise for the employees. I must tell you, it made our negotiations extremely difficult. Because they're saying to us, isn't this the same state representatives that voted in majority to fund a 10% raise for state employees? And we're settling for 2 and 3? How is that equitable? So I can tell you right now that correctional officers at our House of Correction, because that's the comparison you're using, make less than those correctional officers at the state prison.
Can you say how much less?
Oh, 3. Good evening, my name is Chris Bradley, I'm the superintendent of the Strafford County Department of Corrections. They make approximately $3 less. And I think there's an important distinction to be made between the pay raise that was recently given out at approximately 10%. There was a duration of time in which those officers didn't experience an increase, and my officers did through effective negotiations at the county. So I think that 10% is a massive amount of growth that some approved and some may not have approved. However, the difference is there's been incremental growth in compensation for our corrections officers at the Strafford County House of Corrections.
But it still doesn't change that we're about $3 an hour less. So we do lose correctional officers to the prison. I think the only reason we don't lose more is because of the distance. People don't want to drive to Concord. That $100 a week is used up in gas. And the benefits are actually a little better at the state level than they are at the county also.
Is it not the case that the state's revenue base is entirely different than the county's revenue base?
Of course.
Right, I mean, it's not just bigger, but our revenue stream is massively dependent on property taxes. That's not the case at the state. They just is not operating on property tax.
That's not totally true. I mean, the state operates on our property. The largest, our one largest
But they,
taxable item is Medicaid, which in 40 plus of the other 50 states is paid for by the state, not by the local taxpayer. So the state does operate to the tune of $120 million on the county taxpayers.
right, but they're also Medicaid funding that comes in from the Fed,
The feds pay
goes through the
50%.
budget, but it's not, and so, but it's not raised by I'm just saying that the state's revenue base is of a totally different ilk than our revenue base.
I agree with that.
Not just in size, but the way it's put together. So, we all voted, you remember, we were all there, right? It was a voice vote, time in 22 years, the voice was in the budget, so, yeah, Representative Harrington.
Yeah, just a question, I was looking at one of the line items, Department of Corrections, and it says electricity, and in 2023 budget was 314,500, and now we're going up to 400,000 for 2024, yet the delivered price of electricity, by that I mean everything, transmission, distribution, energy, etc., fees, went down approximately 20%, since that time. Why is our bill going up 27%?
It went up 20%.
27%. Rates have gone down 20%.
But our price was operating from 4 years ago, when we locked in a 4-year bid on our electricity.
Well,
So
that makes sense. When does that contract expire?
it expired in February 1st, last month. We went out to bid again, and that's the best price we could get.
Representative.
Yeah, so, I think as, Director Bauer, sort of alluded to, one of the biggest costs that, the county has to, get from our, county property taxpayers, that goes on to the municipalities, is the Medicaid, is the state share of Medicaid. And this is something that was gradually put down on the counties over a course of a number of years. But if we really want to give property tax relief to the county taxpayers, what we need to do is shift that back to the state paying it rather than our municipalities paying it. And that's something we'll have to think about next term when we're working out the budget for next going forward. But if we want to shift that back up to state, to it being a state responsibility, that will do a great deal of good for our municipal taxpayers. However, we can't do that tonight.
That's true. Representative Harrington.
I just wanted to follow up, can you give me what the present contract rate is that you receive?
I'm sorry, I didn't bring it with me. I can
But it's
look.
substantially higher than the one you had 4 years ago.
Yes, sir, it is. And again, we went out to bid. I wish it was better news.
Representative Burkhardt.
Just following up on that, could you, when you have access to it, supply us with who actually won the bid and what the price is?
I'll do better than that. I'll provide you the whole bid sheet.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
So you'll see every bidder that bid, and I'll send you a copy of the commissioner's meeting minutes where it was discussed why the one that was picked.
Perfect. Thank you, Reverend.
And I think it'll make particular sense to Representative Harrington, because there is because of this pass on Public Utilities Commission, because there was one bid was slightly lower, but with no guarantee that it would stay stable for the course of the bid. But I'll explain that. We'll send it to everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank everybody for your patience. Mr. Bauer, I'm curious, we bonded some amount of money in December, so it would still be under, I guess, last year or this year's. I would like to have you tell us exactly how much we bonded, exactly how much has been spent on the new proposals for the nursing home, when the first payment is due, and how much that payment is gonna be.
We didn't bond anything. We borrowed in anticipation, you know this, Representative, because I've sent this to you.
Well, I was told, I respectfully disagree. I was told you bonded in December.
I told you that we did a ban in December, a bond anticipation note. I'll ask the delegation to reflect back when our financial advisor came on the Zoom call. He suggested we not bond now, that the rates are inflated, that the rate is going to decrease. So we borrowed temporarily. And if we would have needed to borrow, say for some reason, the nursing home was voted in at whatever the cost was, we would add the $6+ million that was approved by the delegation to whatever the bond amount was for, that was approved for the building and the new nursing home. That way we'd only have to pay bond fees one time, not twice.
What's the amount of money that you borrowed?
We have the exact amount.
Sorry.
This is Diane DeGera, Finance Director.
So at the beginning of December 2023, we issued a band anticipation note for a period of 1 year. So it'll mature December of this year, beginning of December. So we issued bond anticipation notes of $6,261,000. There may be like a little, I kind of rounded it, but we issued those bands at 4.29%. The interest cost for that for an entire year, when we did the band, is $267,000, $112.
So the payment is due this December.
It's included in the budget.
It is in the budget?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It's in there under interest and temporary loans. It was in front of your committee.
So how do we pay that back if we have to pay it back? We have the money to pay that back?
That's something we'll have to decide as the year continues. Well, as you know, we didn't spend the whole $6 million. We spent the exact amount that I sent you. And we'll have to then determine how to pay that back as it gets closer to December.
Yeah, before the end of the year.
Yes, sir. But the interest amount is included. Now, we could do another band, maybe there will be some agreement amongst the delegation regarding funding the nursing home. All of those things are possibilities. But the interest amount for that band to pay that back is included in the budget.
Is the money in any kind of an interest-bearing account?
Yes.
No, it is.
Yeah, it's in a separate account, but it's in an interest-bearing account.
Thank you.
So just to follow up on that, so there's about 4 million in that account right now?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
If you'd like, well, I can send you the information that I sent to Representative Newton, so you'll all have it. I'm happy to do that. I got in trouble with the delegation a few years ago when we sent out information to the whole delegation that was authored by one member of the delegation. So I don't do that anymore. I don't want to get yelled at again. So what I do is if a delegation member emails the county. And it's just them emailing the county. I answer that representative back. If that representative also includes all the delegation members in that, then I email all the delegation members. So that's how I do it in order not to be, chided as I was in the past.
Representative Kaczynski.
Yes, if Representative Newton's figures are correct, and this is a 9% increase in spending, which I realize with this inflation costs going up, the average constituent of mine can't just raise their spending, they may have to cut somewhere along the line. So anyway, I can't go along, I would vote no on this budget because I can't agree with that excessive spending rate.
Are there further questions? Otherwise, are you ready for the question? We have a motion and a second. Being none, clerk may call a roll.
Blankenberg,
No.
Bailey,
Nay.
Bay,
Yes.
Bickford,
Yes.
Bixby,
Yes.
Burnham, no. Cannon,
Yes.
Conlon,
Yes.
Connor,
No.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Ranger,
No.
Grassy,
Yes.
Harrington,
No.
Morgan,
No.
Oregon,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Howland,
Yes.
Kuzinski,
No.
Valentine, yeah. The clerk will vote yes. Newton,
No.
Hare,
Yes.
Finney,
No.
Potenza,
No.
Rich, yeah. Sally, yeah. Southworth,
Yes.
11,
Yes,
Turcott,
No.
Wall, yes. Sixteen to 12,
My vote is yes.
17 to 12.
Okay, the vote. The 17 to 12. Budget is adopted. Item 16 is motion to approve minutes of December 20th, 2023, January 31st, 2024 public hearings and the meetings. For a motion. Some representative Bixby will be moved to approve for a second, Representative Conlon, second. Questions, corrections, recommendations, what have you? Being none. Yeah, all the roll.
Blankenberg, no. Bailey,
No.
Bay,
Yes.
Bickford,
Yes.
Bixby,
Yes.
Burnham, yes. Cannon,
Yes.
Conlon,
Yes.
Connor,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Ranger,
Yes.
Grassy,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Oregon,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Howland,
Yes.
Kuzinski,
Yes.
Lamontaine. Yes. The clerk votes yes. Newton,
No.
Fair. Yes. Finney,
Yeah.
Potenza,
Yes.
Rich. Yes. Selig. Yeah. Southworth,
Yes.
11,
Yes.
Turcott,
No.
Wall. Yes. And Schmidt.
Yes.
Or 26. 26.
Okay, item 17, discuss and vote on 2025-2026 elected official salaries. So if you look at your yes. So if you look at this document, minutes of the policies and procedures subcommittee meeting, elected official salary. It's a document that looks like this on the inside. Print on the front, sorry, anything else? Print on the front, looks like this in the middle. In the back page, similar, okay?
I thought it was this.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's a vertical. Now, sorry, yeah, color in the middle, and then the back page. Okay.
Okay, got it.
All right. So, there are motions. On the ballot. You're moving? Okay, Representative Bixby moved, seconded by. Representative Lamontaine, because I saw your hand. Okay.
Motion to set a 10% increase in salaries for part-time Strafford County elected officials at 5% above the highest paid employee in the respective department, split evenly between 2 years for the full-time Strafford County elected officials as per tax chart for the 2025-26 session.
Okay. Well, we moved, and the committee was, moved by Representative Fitzpatrick, and second by Representative Petrie. Unfortunately, he was not there, not here tonight, unfortunately. And it was adopted trying to message by a voice vote. So, as those of you who are new may not know, but the statute requires us to adopt the salaries for the coming term in advance of the coming term, so that those running for these positions know what that position will pay. And you can see on the third page, what the elected officials for the county attorney, highlighted in yellow, right? County attorney, $1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1 register of deeds, that the officers and the sheriff and so forth. Each one of the elected officials is listed with the proposed salaries for the coming year. And the previous page is just for the elected officials. We were recommending to increase the salary to, for the coming term. Third discussion. Yeah. Representative Kaczynski.
I just have a question, are we voting for on this worksheet? Say for the two, say for instance, county sheriff. For 103,924. Go for 2026. We were the two figures here, I'm just trying to clarify.
Yeah. Before I answer the question in the microphone, I want to make sure I'm reading the right spot.
Clarify that.
Okay, go ahead.
So, there is, so the full time, so.
Use the mic.
All right, here we go. So on this single sheet, over on this side, not in color are the proposed salaries for the 2025 and 2026. And those is being done in two steps. So for instance, for the sheriff, the salary in 2025 would go up to 90,312. And then for 2026 would go up to 103,924. One of the things that is one of the issues in terms of making these salaries higher than 8 or 10% raise is that if you look on the four page one, and it has what the current and what the current salaries are. The salary for the county attorney is currently 106,000, and the salary for the deputy county attorney is 137,008. So the county attorney is paid approximately $30,000 less than one of the people who reports to her. This is a problem because if the county attorney were to leave, then it would be difficult to get the deputy to take the place of the county attorney and take a $30,000 pay cut. So we need to, so the person who is at the top of the department really should be the highest paid person in that department. And that's why the proposed salary increases are higher than the 8 or 10% that we've got.
Well, I can clarify a little bit more. And that is that some time back, we had a situation where we engaged the services of the person who is the deputy. John, what's his last name? Mark, John Martin, because we were needing to train up some of our newer attorneys to get the kind of functionality out of them that you need if you're gonna, the cops don't want to arrest people and charge them and so forth and so on. And then the case goes down in court. So we hired highly qualified prosecutors from someplace else, Waterman and so forth. And County Attorney Velarde, who was the county attorney for like 20 years, he took the position with Department of Justice for a nice increase and a promotion and so forth. And we then promoted Ellie to be, and elected her to be the county attorney. But there is something called compression. Goes on when you have salaried employees to go up and up and up, and you have elected officials whose salary is set by law, then you get a compression. And any of you who are in business, Tom, you're in business, you probably know that, not a good situation to be in, so.
You do things a little different in business, and, I understand, all I wanted was the figures we're voting on. I appreciate Representative Bixby's explanation. But a couple of things, see, I remember this discussion we had, and it was said at the time that the former register of deeds and the former sheriff didn't want the pays raised because they were worried about competition in elections, so they wanted to keep them down. And also, as I believe the attorney. So I'm saying, who's running this year? I mean, if the wise thing to do is to raise them, I'm not saying it is, but if it is, then should I raise them? I'm gonna listen to somebody's running some department, elected official that wants to keep a hold on their office there. Now, in Rochester, several years ago, in our school department, we had an employee that was under the superintendent that got, for some reason, some crazy amount of money for. So what that did is bring up the pay scale of everyone in that school department. Now, I'm in business. I don't run a business like that. I'm sorry. And if this is, maybe this will bring up the pay scales of people below them too. So I don't know. It just seems like too much. I quickly figured these figures, and for the registered of deeds, 2 years, 15.45%. For the county attorney, it's a 32% increase. And for the county sheriff's 26.1, and in total, it comes to 26.4% increase for these positions. And I'm sorry for the compression and all this stuff, but I mean, it really should have never got to this point, And I can't support this kind of stuff.
Representative Tender.
So during the executive committee, I brought up some concerns about this, and I think that the thing that is glaring, and you guys posted this, is on this back sheet here. And I have specifically only talking in regards with the county attorney. So Strafford County currently 2023 and 24 is in line with salaries. We're not low or anything like that. This is gonna put us well beyond any other county in New Hampshire. Rockingham, huge county. Their county attorney right now is at 115. Merrimack, bigger than us, 103. Hillsborough, bigger than us, 96. So this is, and we're gonna increase this to 156,000. I'm sorry, this just doesn't make any sense. I can't support anything like this just based upon the chart. If you just look at the chart, everybody's gonna wanna come to Strafford County.
Representative.
I'll get into this conversation a little too. There's cause and effect. When you raise these salaries, it has an effect. The rising tide lifts all ships. Well, next thing you know, we're seeing huge increases in every salary. I was in the State House in 2010 when we so-called downshifted money, expenses to the cities, because what we said was, if you're going to give these largest raises, then you pay it. Then you pay them. So we're giving these largest raises, and then we want the state to take them back and start paying them again. The reason we voted it down that time was because we said, if you want to give these largest raises, then you pay it. And that's what's going to happen here. Almost a 50% raise to the county attorney. That's ridiculous in 2 years. It's just with the job that they have, and as Representative Potenza said, with the pay scale that's going around, well, how about the reps, the state reps, why don't you give us a, you know, that's never gonna happen, we're gonna get a huge raise. We don't do it for the money.
As you know, it's in the Constitution, Representative, so it's not as simple as this happening.
Yeah, I know the Constitution, but the point I'm getting at is we're giving some pretty substantial raises here, or attempting to. And for that reason, I can't tell my constituents, oh, by the way, you're hurting at the grocery store, you're hurting everywhere else because of high inflation. And we just gave a 50% raise to county employees, and I can't support it for that reason.
Well, one of the realities is that the attorneys, and we know it from the committees that we serve on, that if you've got a situation where you're, for example, we see it with police officers, right? The smaller towns or the smaller cities, they train them up, and then they get lured away by the bigger cities. And so it's a constant rat race to try to keep people on the job, especially fire and police officers. Okay, I give you that example. You know that's the case, right?
With all due respect, Rochester police officers left and went to smaller towns for less pay. Well, I don't think that's accurate what you're saying.
Well, I'd like to see that in writing. I'm not saying you're misleading me, but all I know is that I've heard it in my committee repeatedly. Representative Seller.
Thank you. First of all, as a member of the Criminal Justice Committee, I can tell you that we're hearing regularly from our judicial system about the court staffing and all of the departments. And I want to thank our county attorney and our sheriff for working innumerable hours. They're most likely not also being paid well beyond the normal 40-hour work week that people say. I'm also wondering, given the late hour, if it's possible we might soon get to the vote, because it's clear nothing anyone says is going to change anyone's opinion. And my phone is flashing with alerts about bad weather outside and poor driving conditions.
I'm even older than you are. I want to go home too. Yeah, I represent Gary.
Yeah, okay. Okay. You know, I understand the whole concept that you're trying to say, the person who's in charge paid the most, but it seems to me like we made a mistake when we paid somebody $137,800 to be deputy county attorney, when a senior county attorney is making about $40,000 less. That's what the mistake made. We should propagate that mistake by saying now we're going to pay the county attorney with an over 50% raise. How can I possibly justify saying to my constituents, oh, well, because we overpay the deputy county attorney, now we're going to have to overpay the county attorney, give them basically what amounts to a 25% raise for 2 years in a row. It just won't fly with the average person. They'll look at this and say, you're crazy, it's just government double.
Well, I think Representative Selling has already stated the fact that we have a motion on the floor. I doubt that any of the votes are going to be changed by any further conversation. I'm getting to be quite late. So I'm going to have the city, sorry, clerk to call the roll.
Tinkerbird?
No.
Bailey?
No.
Fay? Yes. Bickford?
Yes.
Bixby?
Yeah.
Burnham?
No.
Cannon?
Yes.
Conlon?
Yes.
Connor?
No.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Granger?
No.
Grassy?
Yes.
Harrington?
No.
Morgan?
Yes.
Oregon?
Yes.
Howard?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
No.
Lamontagne? Yes.
The clerk votes yes. Newton,
No.
Pear,
Yes.
Finney,
No.
Tenza,
No.
Rick. Yes. Selig,
Yes.
Southworth,
Yes.
11,
Yes,
Turcott,
No.
Wall,
Yes.
and Schmidt.
Yes.
Eleven to 20.
20 to 11. Motion is adopted. Item 18, other business that may legally come before the delegation. Representative Newton.
Mr. Chairman,
How
yeah,
do we have 31 people?
yeah, we keep having different numbers.
We keep getting different numbers every single vote.
Every count.
We had
Every
17
count
to
has been
12,
wrong.
we had 26 to 4, and we just had 11 to 1.
Yeah, every single
How does
time.
that happen? Nobody's leaving.
Yeah, nobody's
Nobody's
leaving,
coming in.
nobody's coming in. Every single count is different.
Someone was out of the room at least once and twice.
Let out one.
With the last vote we had, it was 1 more.
There should be 30 votes.
30 votes, this is 31 votes. And Representative, Turcott did not vote because he was out of the room, remember? Representative Turcott, you're out of the room.
No idea what you're
The
talking.
last two, that different number.
Yes, you were out of the room,
No, I
you
know.
came back,
Joking.
you declined and.
Yes, I was joking. Yes, I know.
Thanks. Same joke. 26 and 4 is 30, 20 and 11 is 31.
What's 11 and 20?
11 and 20 is 31 votes.
Okay, so we've got 31 people here.
The early ones.
You got Susan in the back line.
No. That's the. There, on the 26 to 4 vote, there were a bunch of Republicans, we were voting on the minutes. We were voting on the minutes. And a bunch of you Republicans voted yes on the minutes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and Len was here for that vote.
Len,
On some of the senators.
Len was, came
That
back.
was a previous vote.
Yeah.
That was a previous vote.
No, it wasn't, the 16 was 26 to 4, 17 was 20 to 11, there's one vote there.
9, 10.
Representative Turcott was here for the vote on it.
Yeah. I hope that somebody can clarify what's going on here.
Nothing is going on. Anyway, so.
So I have
Representative Green.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor? Oh,
Yeah.
without objection, you're adjourned.